Can y'all hear me okay? I have a loud voice. I might not even need this thing, but I'm going to use it anyway. Thank you for that warm introduction. And first of all, I want to say, let's have a round of applause for all of you for the work that you're doing, first of all. I want to recognize everybody in the room. Look at that. That's all bird joy. I want to talk a lot today. Obviously, I love birds, but I also want to talk about the importance of bringing more people into the conservation conversation, and how we've been able to do that with our birding club, how I do that with content creation, with all of the things that I create in the environmental space. So as I mentioned, I am the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, co-host of the Bird Joy podcast. If you like podcasts, check us out. We are wherever you get your podcast, you can check us out. I teach at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Life Sciences Communication Department. So the simple explanation I give people as to what I do, I teach the future scientists and researchers of the world how to communicate their work to the public using media. That's my job. Because I feel like science has a communication problem, and I'm not taking a dig at my scientists out there, are the colleagues in the space. But a lot of times we don't realize that people don't know what we don't know. And I say we need to find ways to tell stories and connect our work with people in a more efficient way. And media is a really good way that we can bridge that communication gap. Because I would say, like, if people don't understand what you do, it doesn't matter, right? So it's not dumbing it down if you get people to know why your work is important to them, their family, or their community. So that's really important. That's what I do. And I'm also the director of Sciences and Climate at the Wisconsin Academy of Sciences, Arts, and Letters, where I lead up the climate and energy programming in our state up there. So really fired up about that. But my whole thing is birds, and the co-founder of the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. I always get this question. People ask me, well, why birds? Why birds? Why nature? Right? I have a lot of reasons for that, but they fall into these three main buckets. The first one is the boosting of the mental health. I cannot tell you, the science is clear. Just being outside makes us feel better, right? So it's good for you. It makes me feel good. I can tell you, I could be having a really crappy day, and if I go outside and I take a hike and I go see some birds, I come home feeling better. And I do this on my walks. I ask people when they show up, how are you feeling right now? I want you to take a mental note of how you're feeling right now, and then halfway through, I'll say, how you feeling now? And you kind of see like that meter is starting to fill up. That bird joy meter is starting to fill up. And by the end of it, I say, how you feeling? They're like, we feel great, Dexter. We feel great, right? So it makes you feel better, right? Being in the forest bathing makes you feel better. So that's number one. The second one is environmental awareness. Really starting to understand our place in the universe in relationship to everything else, the river, the blue heron that's hanging out on the river, right? The habitats, everything around you, you start to realize that you're just this itty bitty piece of this giant puzzle. And that's humbling, but it's also motivating because you realize that you are a part of something special. And the last thing I always tell people, and they're like, I always tell people, birding isn't about the birds. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're the bird guy. What you mean it's not about the birds? It's about the community. And I tell people that all the time. It's about the community. I've met some of the most fantastic people that I know in my life. Some of my best friends I've met on the trail or in the wild, like I like to say, right? So it's really, really fantastic. So really understanding, it makes you feel better. It connects you to the environment around you, and then you're able to be a part of a community. Okay. They ask me, well, why birds? But then they say, well, what's your favorite bird? And I would say, picking a favorite bird is like picking a favorite kid, and I have four. I can't do this. Why are you putting this pressure on me to pick one? But if I have to pick one, it's the osprey. I remember it was about 15 years ago. This is kind of when social media videos were starting to take off. And I was watching this video, folks. Oh, I got to put the clicker down for a minute. I was watching this video of this bird. I had no clue what I was looking at. No clue, right? This bird is up in the air and it's flying straight down towards the water. We're here for a water summit. Listen, it's flying straight down towards the water, faster than I've ever seen anything fly in my life outside of an airplane, a jet, right? It was like literally a bird version of a jet flying towards the water. And I was stuck. Y'all know that emoji on your head, when your head's blowing up on your phone? That was me. I was just like stuck. And I was just like, first of all, what is that? Like, what is happening? And it starts getting closer and closer and closer to the water. I started freaking out. I'm like, well, what is wrong with this bird? It's supposed to be in the sky. Why are you flying towards the water? And as it gets closer and closer, I'm really starting to freak out because I'm having all these thoughts in my head. I've never seen anything like this. And all of a sudden, it locks out its talons. I was like, whoa, something about to happen. Something is about to happen. But then I was like, why is it going towards the water? This bird's going to drown. I was freaking out, right? And then it hits the water. And this bird, folks, it's completely gone. I'm like, it is going to drown. Why am I watching this? What is wrong with you, Dexter? It's completely submerged. It's gone. And so it goes from the sky to the water, completely submerged. And all of a sudden, its little bitty osprey head pokes out. I was like, oh, thank you. It didn't drown. And it's looking right, and it's looking left. And I'm like, okay, it's moving. And then all of a sudden, its wings come out. And again, I was just stunned. I was like, what is happening here? Birds can do this? Like, this was this moment where I was just like figuring out so much about the world around me that I had never seen before. And it starts flapping its wings and flapping its wings and flapping its wings, and it flew up holding this huge fish like you see here. I was done. After that, I was like, what? I love birds. What is happening here? Birds are the coolest thing ever. So that was the day where I said, I don't know what that is, but I need to find out. So I started doing some research, and I find out it's an osprey. And then I find out ospreys nest in Wisconsin. Ooh, I was really fired up after that. I was like, wait a minute. So first of all, this thing is real. And I can actually go see one in the wild. So I start doing more research. I find out they literally nest within 10 minutes of my house, including on top of a cell tower across the street from the grocery store that I go to. Like the whole time. You've been around me the whole time. Oh my goodness. So I go, I explore, I see this happen in the wild. I even get a chance to see little osprey babies in the back of the nest. From that day forward, folks, I was what I call a bird nerd. Any other bird nerds out there? Let's go. Let's go. So what's some of your spark birds? I want to hear. This is my spark bird, the osprey. What's some of your spark birds?
Well, mine's osprey.
It's osprey too. See? I knew I liked Mark. What's one?
Piping plover.
Oh, you have them here. I got my piping plover lifer last spring, and it was adorable. You all are so lucky. And the work that's being done to protect them here is just such an inspiration. What else? Piping plover.
Saw kingfisher, like a hawk. Very cool.
Very cool. And they hang out around water. Really cool to see. Fun fact about them, when you realize they actually dig holes and live in and nest in the ground, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. What else? White pelicans. Yes.
The Cooper's hawks in my neighborhood like pigeons, and it's pretty awesome to watch.
That's their favorite food. They love them some pigeon. It must be delicious. They love it. What else? What's some other one?
Peregrine falcon.
Peregrine falcon. Yes, I'm sure you all get to see them in the city. The urban birding is fantastic to be able to see something like that. That was the next bird that I saw fly and fly faster than the osprey, and that one did me in too. I was like, oh my God. Birds are everything. What else? I saw some more animals.
Cardinal.
Ooh, the cardinal. It's so fun. I love the cardinal for a lot of different reasons. but there's a spiritual connection to the cardinal. And every time I see the cardinal, I say, "Hi, Grandpa," because my grandpa was the birder in the family, and that's where my mom always told me that's where you got it from. You got it from your grandpa. But I always say that there's a very much a spiritual connection to cardinals for me.
I like woodpeckers. Right now I have 4 species on my back porch.
Ooh.
Visiting regularly.
Which ones you got?
Downy, hairy, red-breasted, and there's nuthatch.
Love it. Love it. Any other ones?
Nighthawks.
Nighthawks. Super cool. No. No lifer birds left behind. Hummingbirds. Oh, that's one of those birds. If you haven't been paying attention to birds and you see a hummingbird like up close, you're like, whoa.
Snowy owl.
Snowy owls. Y'all had a few out here. Yeah, it's been quite a few of those.
Corunda swan?
Tundra swans. Yes, very loud and fun. What else? Yeah, look at this. There's a lot of birders in here. Yes. You know, I always tell people I live in Wisconsin and our state bird is the American robin, but I always say I wish it was the sandhill crane because of the conservation story behind it, right? That we saved that bird in Wisconsin and now it's doing fantastic, right? And they're so majestic. So I always say I love the American robin, right? But that sandhill crane and that story and Aldo Leopold and the land ethic and that getting down to 20 nesting pairs at one point, we almost lost that bird, you know? So that story behind that bird is really special. I saw another hand right next to you. Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah. Eastern bluebird, it's yeah, especially see one in like peak colors. Like it's just, even in the wintertime, you see them hanging out. They're just beautiful. What else? Loons. Oh, yeah, that's a game changer. That's also a game changer. Those. See, I get excited for them all. What is it? Blue heron. Blue heron, yes, especially along the river and get this bobbling. They sound like Transformers, don't they? Like it's so cool. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. What else? Y'all got me fired up. Double-breasted cormorant. Look, I don't even need to talk. Y'all just keep talking.
Growing up on the banks of Mississippi every winter,
the bald eagle. America. Love it. Love me some bald eagles. That was my grandpa's favorite bird, actually. I was actually born in the Quad Cities. So my grandpa lived in Davenport and he would go to Rock Island, Illinois, near the arsenal and just walk the trails along the Mississippi and watch the bald eagles. Like that was his favorite thing to do. And I still go back home and I would go visit grandpa's grave and I go walk those same trails and I watch the bald eagles and the American white pelicans on the river. And it just brings me a lot of joy. There's a lot of stories and traditions that can be passed through birds as well. Any other ones? I don't want to leave you out. Last one.
I like the flocks of sparrows.
Yes, they're not just little brown birds. They're not. Not when you pay attention to them. When people say it's just a little brown bird, I get offended. It's so offended. It's more than that. All right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about when I started, that spark happened, and it made me start to do more research on, well, what is birding? What's a birder? What does that mean? So I started researching and looking for organizations that were taking people out to look at birds, right? Because I was like, I want to see some more birds. These little things are cool. So I started going to a lot of these birding spaces and I would show up, folks, and I was always at the time like the youngest person there. I ain't young no more. But I was always the only person of color. And that was, for me, that was troubling in the sense of it started to make me question, do I belong here? Is this really for me? If I'm the only person that looks like me here, right? And it had nothing to do with how people were treating me. It had everything to do with like, what is this space? Is this space that has been created for me and for people like me if nobody that looks like me is here, right? So it really I had some emotions because I was like, I love them so much. But then at the same time, I was like, do I tell anybody I like birds? And for a long time, I didn't. And as you can see, I get pretty excited to talk about them. But for over a decade, I didn't tell anybody that I like birds outside of my grandpa, right? I wasn't making videos. I wasn't telling people, I wasn't taking photos of them. I wasn't doing anything. I was looking at birds and it was bringing me joy, but I was not sharing it because I didn't think it was for me. And as I started to grow in the space, my mom always raised me. She says, Dexter, you're either going to be part of the problem or you're going to be part of the solution. And the solution was to create a space, the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, where all birders could feel welcome. Because it's a lot different when you show up to a space and you see people of all walks of life in that space, right? People that look like you, but also leading you. That's another level of connection to the space, right? So we created a birding club where we really wanted to dedicate our time to get more Black, brown, and indigenous folks outside enjoying birds, but also allies that wanted to see that birding space grow. So that was the reason why we created the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. And it was to be a part of the solution. It was as to combat the lack of diversity that I was seeing in what I would call traditional white-dominated birding spaces, where I didn't see people that looked like me there. It was also to create a community. I told you that community portion of why nature, why birds is so important, because you're bringing people together. And that's what we really wanted to do. And the last part, during this time when we started our club, there was a social justice movement that was kind of sweeping our country. This was right after George Floyd's murder. This was after Breonna Taylor. This was after a friend of mine, Christian Cooper, was targeted in the Ramble in Central Park. It really sparked this outrage across the country and a discussion around belonging in outdoor spaces. It really did. It kind of rose this conversation to the surface for a lot of people to really look at, like, we got a problem here. We have a problem here. So let's be a part of the solution. And it's so funny because when we started the club, I was like, it's going to be me and my kids and like my mom that shows up, right? This is a picture of our first event. And what you kind of can see here is this is exactly what we wanted. We wanted Black, brown people, old, young, kids, everybody in between coming together to enjoy the space together, right? And this was our very first event. It turned out really beautifully. And when I talk about community, the community really showed up for us during this time. The now Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance reached out to us. They are now our fiscal sponsor for the club. They reached out immediately. And they were like, thank you, we need you. We need you all so bad. The Feminist Bird Club of Madison reached out, you need binoculars. Can we put your event in our newsletter? So like the community outreach and outpouring when we first showed up was really, really beautiful. And they're still partners to this day that we work with all the time. I'm gonna tell you folks, we're doing our events, and at every event, we introduce each other. Hi, my name is Dexter Patterson. I use he, him pronouns. And then I will ask people, what's your favorite bird, right? And I will put that question on them just to see if they can answer it. And I told my osprey story to them. This was our very first event. I wanted people to understand that osprey story. Folks, within 10 minutes of us hitting the trail, what bird showed up first? I have 15 witnesses. It was the osprey. It showed up and it literally came out of the sky, hit the water, and it did everything I just told you. And it flew away with a huge carp in front of our whole group. Needless to say, the rest of the event, I was walking around like this. You get an osprey. Bird whisperer. Oh, I'm talking about chest was pumped out. I was like, yes, we're supposed to do this. This was meant to be. It was literally like in that moment, I was like, I am supposed to be here sharing this with people. Right? There was literally like this clarifying moment of, yes, Dexter, this is it. This is it. And that moment, that day, was when we were just like, all right, we're going to keep doing this month after month. We now do monthly events. And we have this is our approach that we take to getting people outside. And I think you can apply this approach to anything that you're trying to create spaces in the outdoors for people. It doesn't need to be about birds. The first thing is we love new birders. Another thing I noticed when I was going to a lot of these spaces is they did not make room for people that didn't know nothing, right? They just assume that you know what an American robin is. They just assume you know what an eastern bluebird is. They just assume you know what a tundra swan is. They just assume you know this stuff because they know it, right? And then when you ask those entry-level questions, a lot of times I noticed they made people feel dumb. And I didn't like that, right? If we're trying to grow people in the birding space, in the conservation space, we need to be more welcoming. We need to realize that there may be people coming in at different entry points that don't know what we know, right? So we love new birders. So every time, like I said, we get in that circle, we do our introductions, I will always ask, are there any new birders in the room, in the crowd today? Every event, there's a new bird, or two, or three, or more, right? And we've been doing this for over 4 years now. Every single time, and then we clap for them. We celebrate them immediately, the whole group, because it's like a thing now. So everybody does that. What do you think that does to a new birder that shows up? What do you think? What do you think happens to that person? They feel welcome, right? They're like, these are my people. This is a space for me. And then I also say, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask it. If you see a bird, point at it, you're being helpful. We can figure it out together. Before they even think about having to ask a question, they have been encouraged to do so, right? So now when they see something and they don't recognize it, but they see it and they point at it, I get excited with them. I'm like, oh, what you got? What you got? And then I tell them what it is. And I'll give them a fun fact about it. And they'll be like, good job. Like that one. That was really good. Boosting up that confidence immediately. They're going to ask another question and another question and another question, right? So that's really important. We are kid and family friendly. I would go to a lot of these other spaces and I didn't see a lot of kids. And when I saw the kids, they were trying to keep the kids from being kids. When kids are outside, let them be free. Let them run around. Yeah, we don't want them running off trail or being unsafe or anything. But I want a kid to be a kid outside. I don't make it about the birds with the kids outside. I make it about them having fun outdoors, right? Because if you can make it a fun outdoor experience, guess what? Mom, dad, grandma, auntie, uncle, I want to go back outside. You change the way they view the outdoors. And along the way, as you see, I get excited about birds. I'm going to get excited. I'm going to be pointing at stuff. I'm going to be hearing stuff. And now they become curious. Don't force it on them, right? This is just a part of this fun outdoor experience. We do that. We're all about accessibility and community. So we're always looking, how can we be more accessible? Do we need to get somebody a powered wheelchair? Do we need to not go to a certain place because this person wouldn't have access to it, right? We're sharing as much information about where we're going to people before we even get there. Bathrooms, how long it's going to be, the duration, what's parking like. So we're really always thinking about everything in terms of accessibility because we want to build a community for everybody. People will ask me, will you change something that you do for one person? And I always say yes. Because that one person matters, right, in our community. So we do that. We are relaxed and casual. Another thing that I noticed in a lot of birding spaces, you got what I call the shushers. I also call them joy jackers. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? These birds don't care. They don't care if we're excited that we see them. And then I hit them with this. I see more birds than you, and I get excited over everyone. And then they're sitting there like, you're right. He does see more birds than me. And he's really excited right now. I say, have you ever thought about maybe the energy puts out? That good energy that nature actually feeds off of that? That they understand we're not a threat because we're happy and we're putting out good energy into the space? And you're, shut up. That's why you ain't seeing what I'm saying. I'm just saying. The math ain't mathing. It's science. And it's all about collaboration, right? We love collaborating with groups. We love collaborating with people because that's how we, and I tell people right now, in the work that we all do in the environmental space, the people that are collaborating are the ones that are winning and will continue to win. Why? Because we're able to scale. We're able to share more ideas. Sometimes our idea isn't the best idea. Sometimes you have no insight into a community you're trying to serve. So maybe you need to let that person talk a little bit, right? So that collaboration, we are able to scale and serve more people. That's the long game. Right? That's the long game. That's how we're going to win. And I like to use what I call the Wisco birder method because I want everybody to feel welcome in a space. So the first thing I say is you don't need to be a pro, right? You see a bird pointing, you're being helpful. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. And then they said, well, how am I going to see more birds? I say, just look for movement. This is the best advice I've ever gotten. Just look for movement because they're going to move. They're going to be moving in the sky like the osprey. They might be on the ground like a pigeon. They're going to be in bushes. They're going to be on the water, right? They're going to be everywhere moving. Just look for movement. The next thing I say is you start to look for movement, listen for the music because they make some beautiful music, some beautiful sounds. So now you're mirroring movement with sounds. Guess who's seeing more birds, right? That's what I like to do. And lastly, I want you to have fun. I want you to have fun. I want you to celebrate when you see something new because that's going to make you want to go back outside. I always tell people, if you get people to pay attention, right, looking for the movement, you can get them to care because now they're paying attention and they're caring about what they're seeing. When they care, they start to think about other things like their habitats, their breeding grounds, the water. Right? So you get people to pay attention, you get them to care. Now we can get them to do something. That's the full circle. That's the full circle of how you can activate somebody in the conservation space. You got to get them to care. How do you get them to care? Tell them a story, make them feel like they're a part of a community, make them realize the environmental awareness they have, what they're looking at, and now you can get them to do. Does that make sense? Always love using social media to be more accessible. I love doing it to show people like birders aren't just old white people, right? Birders are everybody, young, old, everybody in between. Like there's a stigma, even in the environmental space, that is only for old white people. It's not true, right? Whether people realize it or not, this country is browning and getting younger. Guess who needs to care about the environment? Those young people, those black and brown people, right? Because somebody has to take care of the water in the future. So we have to open it up more. We have to open it up more. That's why I started creating my videos. That's why we started the podcast. I go on interviews and I nerd out about birds and tell people they're amazing. That's why, because I want somebody to be like, this is for me. Nature is for everyone, even you. Birding is for everyone, even you. Bird Joy Podcast was another way for us to grow that. We interview STEM professionals from all over the world every week. And we really tap into the joy of their work and what they're doing in the spaces. And it's really, really fun. We nerd out about science and birds, or maybe they work with snakes. It does, right? It's literally across the board, but really trying to platform voices that are doing the work in the community. And I wanted to continue to build on that. And that's why I wrote Birds of the Great Lakes. I wanted to create a field guide. You know, I had to put the osprey in there. I wanted to create a field guide that reached those people that come to our events and put up their hand as they're a new birder. I wanted to create a book that literally met those folks at that level, but also matched the videos that I put out there. So I do these videos where I say, who wants to help me find the osprey? You ready? Let's go. Right? And we go find it. And then I show like the appearance of the bird with the camera. And I'm like scanning the habitats. Then I start talking about their behaviors. And I end every video with a fun fact about the bird. And the reason I do that is I want to turn them into the emoji where their head blows up. Right? Because then they'll remember that one bird. And maybe that one fun fact about a bird that just blows your mind gets you to pay attention. And then maybe they start to care and maybe they start to do. Right? So I really want to create something, and that's how I laid out the book. It's really, really simple. Make it visual, make it easy for people to follow, because what I found is a lot of these field guides, a lot of my colleagues in the space, they create these beautiful, amazing books, but it seems like they're built for people that know what they're looking at and just want confirmation, not necessarily somebody that knows nothing, right? So I wanted to create something where people could be like, okay, I get this. I can see that in the Great Lakes region. We're really lucky in this region, by the way. I can see that. So that was another way to continue to build on that. So our events, we host monthly events in Madison and Milwaukee. I also get down here quite a bit with Lake Forest Open Lands, and I've been leading some events down here as well. But we really want to get people outside. And we do citizen science type work. We'll do Christmas bird count. We do bird banding events. We do a lot of different eagle nest box monitoring. We'll do a lot of different things that expose people that have traditionally not had access to these type of things before. And we're creating those opportunities, right? We celebrate Black Birders Week. I love this photo on the bottom. It's a whole bunch of black and brown people outside in the snow. They try to tell us we don't like the cold. We don't go outside. We don't do that. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we have fun when we do it. These are, like I said, we do bird banding events. We'll host BIPOC only events. We do workshops like Birding 101, virtual lectures. We do a lot of different things to meet our community where they are. This bottom photo, folks, that's one of my daughters holding an American kestrel and releasing it. What do you think that does to a young person? Right? Like, again, right? Trying to create those moments, right? At a young age. And you see that across the board with our events is we really we take making our events inclusive very seriously. All right, so this is inclusive birding in action. Remember I talked about the power wheelchair? You think that I'm not going to reserve that for a person that wants to go birding with Christian Cooper because he's visiting us in Madison because she broke her foot? You think I'm going to say no? No, for one person, I am going to reserve that, right? That's somebody in our community that we care about. And I want you to be safe, and I want you to be able to participate in this amazing event with an Emmy Award winner, right? With somebody that has a show on National Geographic and a New York Times bestseller that's just coming out to go birding with you, right? So we want to do that. Environmental justice. I always tell people, I told you about showing up and not seeing people that look like me. I don't want that feeling for anybody else, right? So that representation matters for so many different reasons, because we need to realize that we need another generation that is going to sit in these chairs that you all are sitting in, right? And they're going to look different. They're going to have to look different because that equity makes not only the birds, right, better, more well off, but their habitats and everything that they depend on. Citizen science. Yeah, I know. This is a northern saw-whet owl. I know. I can't. Every time I see it, it's like, oh my God, look at it. We banded 12 of them this night. I remember this like it was yesterday. But conducting these bird-related research projects and field observations with our members, we would create these opportunities and allow our members to attend these things, right? So that changes them. They realize that collecting data and analyzing bird populations, behaviors, and all of these things, it changes the way they see birds. It changes the way they see the environment. It changes the way they see themselves in the environment as well, right? So these type of opportunities. Oh, this is Loki. This is Loki the crow. And Loki's a rehab bird that can't be released, but Loki likes to paint. I know. So Loki, I'm getting a little emotional. Loki is so adorable. So we created this. We went to this event called Schlitz Audubon outside of Milwaukee, and they have a raptor rehab center. But Loki is one of their rehab birds. And Loki, we just sat in a circle around Loki. And Loki had little paint, his all these different colors of paint, and he would hop over and grab one and dab it on there, and then hop over and grab another color, dab it on there, and literally Loki painted in front of our group. It was mind blowing, right? Like it was just like, whoa, these type of close encounters also change the way you see nature. Change the way you see the world. Because you're like, wait a minute, if so many people just overlook crows and don't realize they're some of the smartest animals in the world. When you see one paint, you now realize that they're one of the smartest animals in the world. And Loki, they use his paintings as like fundraising opportunities and different things, but just a beautiful, beautiful moment with the club. There's these fun learning opportunities. I told you about how we do bird banding events. You got two little brown girls literally tending a bird banding station by themselves. This one is blowing on a brood patch at age 11. That's crazy. That's Joy. Joy's been banding birds since she was 2 years old with her mother, who is a master bird bander. This is my daughter, Alyssa, working the banding station with Joy, right? So they now know what? This is for them. I could be a scientist. I could be whatever I want to be, right? Because it's bigger than birding. It really shows kids and people what's possible. It does, right? It opens up what is possible for them. I call them windows to wonder, right? This is Jasmine. I absolutely adore Jasmine. This is the first time she held a bird ever. It's a female Baltimore Oriole. Look at her face. Right? These are windows to wonder. I was talking with somebody earlier and I was like, that's what birds kind of do. You see one and it kind of blows your mind. Then you see another one, and another one, and another one. And it's like this endless adventure, right? It's this endless story of beauty and wonder because they're all so different. It's so beautiful. And it really kind of shows people what is possible. We started a Bus to Nature program this spring and summer. And what I was able to do, I really started and wanted to reach the kids, right? And especially in the summer, because a lot of kids in this program, we focus on kids and students in underrepresented neighborhoods, poor kids, right? Where we wanted to bus them to green spaces. We want to, every time I talk to somebody, they say, we would love to get our kids outside, but we can't afford it. How are we going to get them there? How are we going to feed them? We eliminated those barriers. So we paid for the transportation. We paid for the food. We provide all the kids with binoculars. And I was busing kids to Horicon Marsh all summer. And I wanted to take them somewhere special. So those of you, if you're not familiar with Horicon Marsh, it's the largest freshwater cattail marsh in America. When we start thinking about, right, water and how special this place is. I wanted them to feel like they were going on an adventure. It's like an hour ride for them. They're like, they're going somewhere. And then I'm like giving them pizza. They're like, what? But we get to Horicon Marsh. Kids, I had 36 middle schoolers out there. I know, people are like, how you pull that off? 36 of them outside? I was like, yeah, look at this. These little kids of all walks of life, they had a blast out just, you know what? There's no better feeling than when you get a kid in some binoculars and they put them up and they say, I see it. Done. You just melt. I cry every time. Like it's ridiculous. But we did this all summer, busing them to state parks, busing them to places like Horicon Marsh, busing them to the Great Lakes in Milwaukee and taking them on the boat fishing and birding and different. We were just doing what we could do to keep these kids outside all summer. Bus to Nature program. We also created a birding backpack program where we put these birding backpacks with field guides, binoculars, our favorite places to bird in the area, all in there, nature guides for kids in both English and Spanish. We had all of these different things. We had a field guide from Ken Kaufman who donated his field guide. So it was just a beautiful collaboration. The backpacks were donated from Fontana Sports, which is a woman-owned outdoor company in Madison. So it was a beautiful collaboration when we're talking about collaborating. We have these backpacks in all 13 public libraries in Milwaukee now. So really, really excited about that. Yeah, you can clap. It's about the kids. I want to leave you with a few research benefits. I know we got a lot of scientists in here, but those physical and mental health benefits really, really important. Connecting folks with the natural world. The research is clear. Getting people outside makes them feel better. All right. So get people outside and try to get as many people outside because they'll start to see the social and community benefits. They'll start to see the educational opportunities and they'll start learning more about the environment around us. And it's about the future, right? It's about the future. I encourage you to never stop collaborating. Never. The silos in the environmental space are a little crazy. A little crazy. I'm starting to notice that. I'm planning a water summit for the Wisconsin Academy, and I'm seeing everybody is kind of like, no, I do this. No, I do this. No, I do this. You all doing the same thing. Do it together. All right. Collaborate with folks. This right here, folks, is our Swift Night Out event that we've been doing for 4 years straight in collaboration with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, the Feminist Bird Club of Madison, Save Our Songbirds, the Neighborhood Working Group. This chimney, actually, this is my old middle school, by the way, which is really kind of cool. But they're tearing that whole middle school down and building a new one. And the chimney was going to go away. These people, when I think about the work that you all do, we are now getting an artificial chimney built with the new building because of this, because of these birds and how many people care about the chimney swifts. So we be out there hanging out together, looking like, I know people driving by like, what are these people doing? Just sitting there looking at this chimney. But ultimately, folks, it's about the birds for me. As you can see, a lot of them, there's the loon, there's the white pelican, there's the bald eagle. See, I remember in all your there's the snowy owl, there's the eastern bluebird for you, right? I know, that's the educator in me. I just remember weird stuff. There's, I always say it's always about the birds and the joy that these birds bring us, whether it's in the wintertime and people are like, they don't all leave? No. And that's mind blowing for people when they learn that. They're like they really do stick around? But it's about the bird joy, right? It's about these kids. This is Roman. He's one of our members. Roman started coming to us when he was 6. He's just now about to turn 11. And this was our Black Birders Week celebration in collaboration with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance. His favorite bird is the peregrine falcon. And we collaborated with a group called Who's Raptors, and they brung some of their rehab birds, and one was the peregrine falcon. I knew that this was happening, so I literally waited with my camera. When they opened that box and he saw that peregrine falcon for the first time, mind blowing. But it's about bird joy. That's my daughter, Victoria, on the top left, holding a chickadee. My daughter, Alyssa, holding a blue jay, and a couple of our other members. Like I said, we bring people of all walks of life. I don't care if you ever hold a chestnut-sided warbler in your hand and release it, you will be changed forever, I promise you. I want you to tell me, what do you all see in these photos?
Smiles.
What else? Smiles.
Bird joy.
Bird joy. What else? What else do you see? Diversity. If you showed up to an event and people look like this, would you feel like you belong? You get it? Right? This is everybody. This is for everybody. We created spaces for everybody because nature is for everyone. Even you. This was Black Birders Week this year. Look at this. This was in collaboration with our local zoo. So we like to do those type of things. Again, kids, people in wheelchairs, people in strollers, people of all walks of life together celebrating Black Birders Week. I want to end here today. I want to end with a call to bird joy. I want you all to start sharing your joyful moments, whether it's with birds or with nature, with more people. I want to encourage you to take somebody else out with you. On a kayak. I heard that kayak story and I got so freaking excited. Take somebody new out on the kayak. If you got to trick them with like lunch or something and then say, guess what? We're going out on a kayak. Do it, right? I challenge you to do that because we need to grow this community. We need to get more people outside. And the way we're going to make a difference, folks, is doing it together. Thank you.